to keep these games moving. But our final series of the day, EX-ROX versus eUnited. We have essentially everyone in the lobby, so we'll go ahead and start talking about the match here. EX-ROX have shown a couple of different looks over the course of this tournament. Obviously, their series against Laser Kittens went a full 4 games and could actually be the determinant of if they get out of the group or not. And other days, they've just kind of fallen flat against the opposition.
Yeah, definitely. That was the only game that they've won so far against the other teams. Their fixture against Gamers Origin, they're probably going to be kicking themselves over a little bit because that's definitely one that they probably could have won or at least had a better shot at. Gamers Origin going to be potentially last place in this group. And EX-ROX looked like they were still trying to find their own play style or find the best compositions that work for them, and we've seen slow development over the course of the tournament, but I'm not sure whether it's quite enough to be able to take out eUnited just yet.
Well, yesterday I think our heaviest criticism of EX-ROX was the dedication to Winston. Cooler's Winston was kind of a head scratcher a couple of times, and I think Alex and Cypher actually kind of really shone on EX-ROX, but not all the pieces were really working together, I think. And eUnited on the other side, eUnited have looked absolutely phenomenal. Cruz, yesterday on his Genji specifically, was having a field day against their opponents.
Cruz has looked fantastic whenever they've been playing against a team that's tried to run either triple DPS into them or a 2-2-2 composition that hasn't been NIP. They kind of got blown out in the game against NIP, and they didn't look like they were firing on all cylinders, but I think that was more of a playstyle matchup rather than them actually not being at the same level or anything like that. I do definitely think that both of these teams, if we're talking about NIP and eUnited, are tier 1 teams in Europe at the moment. And eUnited have shown that when they've been playing against all the rest of the opposition. They've been fantastic with this triple DPS dive that they've mostly gone towards. They have brought Reinhardt into it a couple of times. They also had a quite interesting Farah Mercy composition when they played against, was that VVZ Adventure? When they were trying to go head-to-head with that?
It all kind of blurs together.
Oh no, it was against Gamers Origin.
Okay. You know how I feel, like, sometimes the games blur together. You're like, I know they used Fair Mercy, I know it was really good, but I couldn't tell you who he killed with it. He basically just dunked on everybody. But yeah, sometimes casting these group stages, you end up seeing so many games it can be tough to remember exactly who did what. But individual performances always, of course, stick out in your mind as, oh, that guy totally botched his ultimate last time, let's see if he does it again. Oh, that guy got a sextuple kill last time, let's see if he does it again. Valuetaja is actually joining the lobby now, so we have all 12 players ready to go. It seems the first map will be Numbani, with EX-ROX defending and eUnited attacking. I will just take this moment just to make sure all the players are ready, go through Group B teams, which will be starting tomorrow. So stay with the Overwatch Pit. Make sure you follow the channel, because we've got games for weeks coming up. Team Dignitas, Movie Star Writers, Misfits, Team LDLC, Hammers Esports, formerly Chavs, and Alternate Attacks, all in that Group B action starting tomorrow. And all 6 of the teams will be playing. It's going to be just like this format, where we have 3 BO3s per day until the group is concluded.
That's a crazy group as well.
It is.
Because Misfits, everyone wants to see how they're performing. Hammers have also been doing really well in Europe recently. Just recently got picked up, were previously called the Chavs. Dignitas have been a team that have always been trying to perform at the previous top level, and now talking to some of the players, they believe that's where they're at. Movie Star Riders as well, a fairly decent team. Alternate Attacks on the up, and LDLC have got a new roster, so that's going to be some great entertainment for the next, week and a bit. But for now, we're still deciding who's going to be getting into playoffs. What do you think, Joshy, their chances actually are in this match of being able to beat eUnited and make playoffs?
Low, if I'm honest.
If you had to put a percentage on it.
Ooh, okay, so the first map is Numbani. No one picked it. We know that there's 2 Assault maps in the pool. We know Nepal is in the pool. Odds are people are going to be trying to avoid Assault, so Nepal is going to... I'm going to say a given in this series. At least Game 2 or 3, Nepal is going to be there. So I think that eUnited will probably dunk on them on Control, unfortunately. We'll have to see. I think Numbani, I would give EX-ROX slightly better odds, just because when they do shine, it has been payload maps, and it has been these 2 ult combinations and coordination that really got them the wins against Laser Kittens. So I think payload favors EX-ROX a little bit. If a percentage on the whole series, I would say 25 to 30%. Honestly, I just feel like eUnited have just been looking so much stronger, and momentum is definitely a thing in these group stages.
Yeah, and EX-ROX, I feel like they're starting to find their place it would be a big upset, as you kind of alluded to, if they were able to beat eUnited. But eUnited actually, you know, we're at that strange stage of the round robin where they've actually already secured their second place in the group as well. So
Still seeded.
they, yeah, well, they've kind of, I don't know, it's all on ROX here to prove that they can beat this kind of team. Nobody's just going to roll over and allow themselves to be beaten in a group stage, but it's way more important this fixture for ROX to prove themselves and be able to make playoffs. And Laserkins will be sat there just just hoping against hope.
That is a fair point, and yes, all of the Laser Kittens should be watching this match intently, but I think you're right, actually. That is a fair point that EX-ROX has a tournament life on the line, while eUnited are just kind of like the gatekeepers. They don't really have to win this series for any, you know, specific reason. eUnited, I believe, did beat Vivi's Adventure, so I think, yeah, they would basically be second place if they win the series, and still, you know, second or third if they lose. So not a huge amount at stake for them, but Cruz is going to dash right into the enemy Torb. Aang is going to fall incredibly quickly. I do not like Torb on Numbani A. I'm just going to go out and say it, just because of what we saw there. The risk is just too high for the potential of the armor pileup, and Reunited, excuse me, not Reunited, eUnited are having a great time here on point A.
Absolutely destroying them, and playing the point at the same time means that it's actually going to go their way. Alexi couldn't get on it with the Diva early enough, and Eng was already out of the fight, having to respawn. What a start from eUnited.
Oh man, that was all bad for EX-ROX. After losing the Torbjorn, that 6v5 fight devolved very quickly. Cruz, actually just had Cruz in my view the whole time, just bouncing from target to target, kind of unfocused at any point by the defenders, just trying to keep themselves alive. And Cooler is here on the Winston. He's the one to, you know, be responsible for this Genji generally. As they push up to the cart, Cooler is going to jump right in onto those enemy supports. A Biotic Grenade, great Biotic Grenade from Main, actually lands right on several targets, so they do give themselves a chance to clean up here. Cruz still at 200 health, though. Having free reign as Genji is a scary thing here for the defenders.
Now, Cooler is playing the Winston, and our problem with that yesterday when they were on Eichenwald was that he wasn't playing into a Genji or anything that they could actually dive into. They weren't playing against triple DPS, they were actually playing against a Roadhog for the most part. So it's a very different situation here on Numbani. We'll see whether Cooler can have that kind of impact to shut Cruz out of the match.
Well, I was saying Cruz, you know, untouched that whole time until the entire rest of his team was dead, so I guess it's really not all about Cruz. The cart was freed up there by some nice tracer play from Cypher specifically. Nano boosted Winston against Dragon Blade Genji. Biotic Nade comes out and hits Cruz immediately. I'm not sure where Winston kind of bounced off to there. It wasn't onto Genji himself, but the cart is still under defensive control. The Diva ult is going to explode now, does not find anything for Alex, but they're still looking good here, and the Cooler Winston ult should give them some longevity and defend for even longer.
The Nano Boost got wasted because Cooler took it into the back line trying to bomb and instantly got put to sleep.
Oh,
and now that Primal Rage is going to get instantly focused down as well. Cooler has it for about 5 seconds, and then he's just destroyed. All of that 1,000 health taken out. Fuse as well drops to the Pulse Bomb. Valitaja picking up 2, and it's just, they're just picking off player at a time, and this slow individual ascent back to the spawn queue is playing badly. It's like momentum. It's picking up and staggering them backwards.
It's interesting, the comp that they're running on defense is actually allowing them to get back into play fairly frequently. I think they had kind of 3 small holds and then finally lost it there. 4.5 minutes left is a very daunting amount of time to try and defend against, though.
Sticking with the composition that they had, no changes for this final area. Yeah, they are able to get on the cart fairly frequently, but they're just kind of trickling in and getting picked off one at a time. Here comes the Nano Boost, it comes out, and the Sound Barrier. Cruz is going to take this Nano Blade, but gets put to sleep. Main with a great sleep dart there. Takes Cruz completely out of the fight, but he falls as well as Fuse.
Cypher still darting around his Tracer, finding kills here and there. Sherrick's extremely low, but he pops the Primal Rage just in time to save himself. Was it worth it? That's debatable. Cart is still kind of jammed up there in the underpass, but the kill onto Cooler does seem to make things worth it. Cypher unable to collect any more kills. Alex goes down out of the suit to Valutaja, and that is it's going to be the cart moving again. Being 2-push right now, and Cruz has plenty of room to push up toward the spawn. It looks like they are going to have to try to cover both the back and front of the cart at the position it's at right now. Fuse does have a Whole Hog ready to go. Unfix is going to launch a Tac Visor. No Nano involved. There's actually a Nano Boost out on the offensive side. It looked like it was used on, who was that? Sherrick, actually.
Yeah, that's a strange situation to pop your tactical visor in, I think, because they had burnt a nano boost and a pulse bomb on the defensive side. And if they had managed to conserve all the rest of their ultimates, perhaps they'd have been able to... Oh, they were actually just trying to switch. Okay, so he was just burning his tactical visor because they're going to switch back to a more of a pick-based tanky composition with Sharek on the Reinhardt and Unfix trying to get hooks behind him.
Okay, I'm alright with that. Yeah, using ults still with the possibility of winning. It's not like they just burned them willy-nilly, which we do sometimes see and have to scratch our heads. But Fuse does still have the whole hog, so the fact that they won that last fight allows them some more tools this time around. Cypher, again, doing a great job on Tracer. Cooler is going to be the first one down again, though, and that is going to give an opening here for the attacking team. With Cruz's Dragon Blade and Valutaj's Pulse Bomb, anything can happen. He's trying to take out that Diva suit as quickly as he can. Cruz up here on the high ground.
Fixed message to the hook onto Alexi. He's going to get caught with the sound barrier, but that's the mini Diva that gets caught with the sound barrier, so still not going to be that much more difficult to take out. But they've actually found 2 picks on Morte and Rubicon, so both supports taken out here from eUnited. Sharek manages to dodge a pulse bomb only just, but this is a good defense so far.
That pulse bomb was actually quite meaty. It got a piece of 3 different people, even though it didn't, get the killing blow on all of them. It finished off Genji and did a significant chunk to the Roadhog and Reinhardt. Easy cleanup there for EX-ROX, and suddenly that 4.5 minutes is down to under 2. And EX-ROX actually making it happen here. I think Cypher, honestly, pulling them back away from the cart over and over is proving incredibly effective. Even if he's not finding kills, he's doing that distraction tactic, which you just can't measure statistically, how much threat is being measured. But Cruz, Dragon Blade is out. Pulse Bomb also comes flying out, but it's going to be EX-ROX falling in the end. Cooler very low on the Zarya, which he has swapped over to. Cruz and Valutage still just pouring in the damage here on these flanking DPS heroes.
They're going to get the spawns in at some point from these tank players. Alexi and Cooler are going to be able to block it, I think, as they just dive onto the card now. A pulse bomb's been taken and rammed right into Unfixed face. He falls. A lot of damage out from eUnited. They were able to take the payload quite a bit further here, and something that's been so good for EX-ROX has been their ultimate economy on this defense. They've always been able to get a lot of value out of 1 or 2 ultimates, and they don't really have any on the board. Alexi's the closest on 85% for his Earth Shatter. It's going to be very important.
Yep, taking his POV right now because, again, you're right, it's going to be kind of make or break, and the fact is that Sharek already has it on the other side. I'm actually going to go into third person, as we could see a lot of ultimates. There's a sound barrier to initiate. Sharek looking for that Earth Shatter. Rhine Mind Games in full effect on the cart. Pulse Bomb comes out onto Alex to hurt his shield a bit, but the Zarya bubble actually seemed to have caught him in time. Aang falls a little low on the Lucio. Cypher out of position. Unfixed does get the kill onto him. There's the Earth Shatter from Sharek, finds 2. The counter Earth Shatter not as effective from Alex. We've got a sound barrier out on the defense. Dragon Blade here for Cruz, trying to find some targets. He's going to kill Ana in the end. The defensive Graviton Surge grabs up everyone on the cart. Pulse Bomb comes out, finishes up Alex. Valutage coming in the clutch there, and that might be it. Aang falling extremely low as Lucio. Cypher is the last hope for EX-ROX in overtime. I can't believe they pushed this 4.5 minute final stretch defense all the way to overtime, but it will be eUnited finally claiming the point. Fuse launches the whole hog as a last-second desperation, but no one is there to touch the cart, and that will be that, as no time left, but 3 points secured.
Switching sides.
And to be fair, that's a very good defense by EX-ROX. Even though they're not quite able to get on the card at the end and just stop it from being completed, doesn't make that much difference when all's said and done, and they managed to burn off, what was that, 4.5 minutes just in that final stage. That's a massive defense coming out from EX-ROX. And as you were saying before we even got into the game, a lot of it came down to their tank ultimates and how they were using them together. Just 1 or 2, great coordination from them, and economy. They tend not to burn tons of them at the same time, and they're pretty good when they get into that kind of position.
Indeed, everything actually went swimmingly for them. The defense on the last stretch, impressive stuff. You were right about, getting maximum value out of each individual ult, but the fact is on that last one, they just didn't have the ults at the ready. They had to generate them still, and the sound barrier initiation from eUnited really was enough to carry them momentum-wise through the rest of it. Valutage also clutch Pulse Bomb there on the cart allows them to finish the job, and now eUnited on the defense, getting a look at what they're running, and I think it was a Strivewire EU monthly that I cast where eUnited kind of debuted, and they ran this same dive composition literally every round on every map. So they are basically experts on it by now. eUnited, one of the best at this dive composition, and it's mostly because of the comfort level of each of these individuals on their heroes. It's similar to ninjas in pajamas running tanks forever and ever because they've just got the time put in. They know what they're doing, and they're giving themselves the best chances as individuals to win 1v1s or even 1v2s on occasion. So definitely, you know, shows in these battles as they break down when Tracers and Genjis are able to keep themselves alive without supports. That's that experience shining through, and now EX-ROX have a chance. They did actually an admirable job on defense, so they have kept themselves in this game. They just need to complete the map with any amount of time to keep it competitive.
Cruz has been a big addition to this team, and when he switched from support over to Genji, because that was always something that eUnited, back when they were reunited, lacked, was a good Genji player, and they tried and fixed on it for a while, but it never worked. Now, what's interesting here for me is Eng actually playing Mercy on the attack, because who's he going to pair up with? Is he just going to damage boost Cooler from the top? It looks like that's mainly what he's going for. Could be a pretty good strategy.
Well, I'm watching Cypher now, who has been playing, obviously, mobile DPS characters up to this point, is on the D.Va now, trying to get up in the face of the Soldier and Ana, but the Biotic Grenade actually hits, and he's not even able to keep his suit. Valutage and Unfixed both finding kills on the attackers means that they will be warded off. Cypher's going to go down there. Aang, you're right, it's kind of interesting that they're running the Mercy without the Pharah. It can be quite useful for Soldier during his ultimate sometimes, but the res, really, the res potential has to be what they're looking for here.
Yeah, it definitely is, and they need to stay in control of this high ground, but because that composition is completely tailored around a specific strategy, it's going to be very easy for eUnited to read. And as long as they wait for them to get position and then jump them, and eUnited haven't taken too much damage within the setup, they should be in a decent position to keep defending. So here we go again, Sharek and Cruz jumping on top of them, making sure that they kept back, and the Pulse Bomb picks up Cooler as well, and that's going to be effectively shut down, because as soon as you get Cooler out of the situation, that's most of your damage has already gone.
It's so interesting the way, I mean, this is working beautifully for eUnited, but just Genji and Tracer alone having that mobility and being able to go from A to B instantly, essentially, to get right into the fight paid off there, obviously, with the Pulse Bomb. Cruz has a Dragon Blade ready to go for the next fight, so it could play out very similarly to what we just saw there. And we've got EX-ROX grouped up now, finally. Again, Cooler is going to be pushing out a lot of damage. He did nail a pretty good Helix Rocket last round. Unfortunately, was unable to pay off. But Cruz with the Nano Blade right out the gate, trying to find that Mercy. Looks for Aang, does get the kill there, as well as main the Ana. So both supports down. Alex going to fall. No one else can last through that. And it's going to be, again, eUnited hanging on. 1 minute and 40 seconds. Not a ton of time. Cooler and D.Va there. Cypher may just want to bite the dust as quickly as possible, since I don't think they really got the kills. Maybe, actually. They're kind of streaming back now. Unfixed still has Tac Visor, though, and Valutage, of course, going to continue contesting the point.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the situation where you feel like you've got more advantage than you do when Cooler and a D-suited Cypher are on the point as Soldier 76 and Mini D.Va. They feel like they've got control because they're 2v2, but actually they're just going to get mobbed up by spawners and really late deaths, as you were saying. And it's been so well executed from Sharek and the dive. He knocked Cooler off the high ground there in the previous fight when he got his nano boost. So far, eUnited tactically completely outplaying them.
D.Va suit goes flying into the hallway, so of course Unfixed and Ana there, Rubicon just jumped down onto the point to avoid it exploding. Cypher now does not have that tool to work with, but he does have a brand new shiny D.Va suit to work with. He's going to get right into the face of Rubicon and put to sleep, of course. Aang, and nowhere near the fight. Huge res potential as Cruz just murdered his entire team, but Aang is not there to hit Q. He's actually going to return back to spawn now. They do have a res for their final attempt. 30 seconds is, again, that's one and done territory, and they just lost Cypher's suit. They're staggering him so hard. Finally, he goes down with only 20 seconds left. I feel bad for Tornado Rocks, but that's what happens. Aang wasn't there for the res, and it's going to be a really, really difficult push here.
I'm not even sure what Cypher's role in this composition really is. I understand the rest of it, but the D.Va, when they're up on the high ground, is not that useful, I don't think.
The first push made sense when he was getting up in the face of Soldier and Ana, but since then it really just hasn't been effective. Unfixed finds 3 kills instantly. That res is going to have to be popped just to be able to deal with that. Sharek finds a kill on Defuse. I think it was after the res went out, though, so no Roadhog in play. There's an Earth Shatter. Trying to catch everything happening here. Sharek actually gets the kill. Or no, excuse me, gets killed by Cooler and Cypher. is trying to chase down Unfixed. He gets the kill right as Unfixed walks over the health pack, so this is actually EX-ROX paying off. The res, after the fireworks started launching from the defense, the res does actually make the difference. 2.5 minutes now for the second stretch is going to be quite difficult, though.
Alexi had a big performance there as well. He completely negated the nano-boosted Sharek, pins him to the wall, hits a really nice Earth Shatter, makes sure that he keeps control of everything on that Reinhardt roll. But they had to expend all of their ultimates, and also the way that they were playing their composition meant that it took all that time just to generate their ultimates, because they weren't taking long, drawn-out fights. They were just getting dived on and killed instantly as soon as they poked their heads around the corner. So this payload portion is where they can maybe start to get things rolling a little more.
D.Va suit can actually be very valuable here. I would not have used it like that. I hope they get something for it. No, too much line of sight. That was a very interesting spot. I think definitely could have held on to that a little bit longer, but it does scatter them. It gets them off the cart and at least, you know, shows the attacking team where everyone kind of scattered to. And the follow-up, even though Cypher didn't blow anything up, they're going to get all the kills that they're looking for. Cruz in the backline still, despite his entire team being dead, is going to fall in the end. And that's actually a pretty swift team fight win for EX-ROX. They have the ability to push up. The second stretch on Numbani is kind of crazy because it's really just one S-curve. If they can block these eUnited folks from returning to the checkpoint, they may actually even secure it here. Of course, they're not going to let that happen. Sharek jumps right into the action.
They've got a huge amount of ultimates to work with here. The nano boost immediately used. Now it's a nano visor from Cooler with the last dregs of it. He's picked up 3 as he plows forward. 4! A quad kill coming out from Cooler to secure them, the second checkpoint. And he's so far forward. He's going all the way to spawn as well, seeing if he can get some early damage onto them. But there's been no changes for the defensive team. And they've got the DPS ultimates up themselves. But it all comes down to this final stretch. 2.5 minutes.
They are still scrambling with those 2.5 minutes. I was watching Fuse there. He actually did a great commando Roadhog job, hooking Sharek and getting the kill, then dropping down and phasing out Soldier and Zenyatta. So Cooler easily able to hit the tac visor and clean up all those kills as a result. So great coordination just to be able to take that checkpoint. Fuse, the Bonsai Roadhog, working out for them. And we get a look at the defense here. It doesn't look like anybody's swapped. Rubicon is, of course, on the Zenyatta now, but he has been for a little while, getting close to that Transcendence rather than the Ana. Ult's flying out. Valuetaja finds a pulse bomb kill onto Alex, but there are kills adding up on both sides. D.Va suit's going to be committed here by Cypher. Can he get anything with it? No, just gets himself a new suit, but defense are hanging on strong here. Cypher really should get out of there.
The reason their composition worked so well in between point 1 and point 2 is because Numbani's fairly open, and they have a large amount of health on the point. They can just keep it rolling. Now that eUnited have stalled them out, they can't get to the payload as quickly. They're stuffed in a choke point, and there's a lot of ultimates for the defensive team. So this is going to be a huge showdown right here.
I hear Tranquility. There's the Dragon Blade out from Cruz. He gets hit with a Bionade and a Sleep. Sound barrier here for the attacking team as well allows them to get a couple of kills. So the ults were committed and did pay off. Fuse finds a nice kill onto Rubicon, and I am lagging out of the game. No, I'm not. We're back. Everyone just froze in place for a second there. Me connecting from California to Europe, just to remind everyone. But that's a team kill for EX-ROX. They're going to push up here. Cypher already on the right side spawn. Fuse is going to take over the right side. Cypher going to watch the left spawn perhaps, but eUnited all grouped together trying to push their way out here. Unfixed does have a tactical visor. He's on the opposite side. He's going to try and sneak over. Payload is already basically at its destination. I'm going to watch Cooler try and duel it out. He's got the nano boost, so he should win over Unfixed. Unfixed actually does need to flee. The cart itself is basically on the point. Valuetaja goes down to the Helix rocket. What is going to happen here? We got Primal Rage actually being committed. Sharek trying to knock everyone off of the cart, but we still have so many EX-ROX bodies. If they can just find the kill onto Cruz, I think that'll help out quite a bit. Cypher's going to launch the suit. It forces them off the cart, and they finish with 9.3 seconds left to the 0 of eUnited. So we're going to have 1 minute pushes, essentially, on either side for extra rounds.
That's absolutely massive. That's so crazy that... that's actually crazy that they're able to get that all the way through as well, because EX-ROX got stuck in the choke point. Then when all of their ultimates are up, again we see this ability to only use a couple of their ults. And really, I don't know who's calling for this team, for EX-ROX, but they seem to have a great understanding of which ultimates they'll be able to use to get through a choke point and not have to burn too many, so that they've still got more for the fight that happens afterwards. And that was just, they played it perfectly in terms of their ultimate economy there in that final push. I can't remember exactly what ultimates they used to break through the choke point, but they had a fight with eUnited, and eUnited decided not to use 3 of theirs and not to make it a full team wipe, because they felt like EX-ROX hadn't committed that many, and they were only balancing the ultimates on each side. And then EX-ROX just overwhelmed them in the final fight. Great play by them.
It was the initial quad kill tac visor that captured the second checkpoint that actually gave them enough berth to move right through the underpass. And then the next contention, I think it was actually a multitude of ultimates. Sound barrier definitely was one of them. I'm trying to remember. It's a little bit difficult, but yeah, I think after they got through the underpass, it was just that one big fight at the end. The fact that they got so much purchase off of the big ult showdown and came out on top meant that they could push those spawns, and then the soldier visor showdown basically ended up going to the defenders, or the attackers, excuse me. It was Cooler, I believe, on the soldier that was actually pouring in that damage. But now we're already here, 37 seconds left. The point is being battled for, and eUnited are standing firmly on it to prevent any capture from happening. But now, already 1 tick. I'm not sure if it's secured or not, but we're right at that mark, and it looks like kills still going both ways. Cypher here for EX-ROX doing his best to slow them down. eUnited still looking for some kills. Rubicon's going to get chased away to the full heal, but Vayutaja goes down. Rubicon won't last long. And that should be a nice hold from EX-ROX. 10 seconds is really not enough time. Even though Sherrick's still on the point, he's not going to last too much longer. Cypher trying to finish the job there, and now, yeah, there's not even enough time to push back.
That takes, Cruz is back in the fight, just trying to delay a little bit, make sure that the rest of his team can get there. They've almost got the second tick, but as you were saying, doesn't look likely. Morte's the last person left alive there. And EX-ROX, it really takes stones to go for a defensive composition that was destroyed within the first 10 seconds the first time they ran that. It was the exact same thing that they ran, the Torbjorn and tons of tanks defense, and it got melted the first time around. And you've only got a minute. You got, what, a literal minute. And they go for a push that got destroyed within 30 seconds last time. So I'm not sure why they would go for it again, but this time they executed it, and it really worked. They shut Cruz down early on. The Torbjorn still didn't have that much effect, but they weren't able to put too much damage onto everybody else, so that Main was still able to keep up with the healing, and they defend.
Man, I'm still just thinking about how that attack went for EX-ROX. It was just so awful looking at that point A for so long, and the one res finally comes through and seals everything, brings them right back into the game. Now they have an opportunity to actually win the entire map if they can just take point A. So incredible kind of comeback here over the span of just one map. But EX-ROX, everything's in their hands now, and just to remind everybody, playoffs are totally in their hands. EX-ROX will advance if they take this BO3 series over eUnited. Laser Kittens are waiting as the current favorites to leave the group, as they've already kind of finished their games. They're just waiting to see if EX-ROX can make it happen against eUnited. eUnited, again, already through to the playoffs, maybe a little bit less to play for. Of course, you don't want to just lose ever. You want to play to the best of your ability. So they're going to try their darndest here with this dive comp once again to hold off EX-ROX's attack for 1 minute and 9 seconds.
They've gone with a completely different composition here, EX-ROX on the attack. No mercy, and they've actually only got one healer as well. They've just gone with the Lucio heals, and Cooler's going to be playing Pharaoh, kind of on his own, and be taking a duel with Vayutaja and 3 other players actually. Cooler's getting pressured so hard. This composition's very strange from EX-ROX. They've tried one attempt, they have time for one more.
Where are you, Diva? Just jump. Your time is precious. Alex makes his way over to the cliff just to rejoin his team and spawn, but yeah, again, time is working against them. I had Cruz's view that whole time, and he did a great job. Unfixed is over here now trying to gun him down. Cypher actually, that's such a stagger. He's not going to be back. This is going to be a 5v6 situation, and Cooler with the Pharah is pretty much going to have to drive the action as the best burst damage option that they have. Cypher might be able to gun it back to the point, but someone needs to get a toe on there quickly. Aang leaping onto the point, already under 100 health, drops his bubble, but also loses his life. Cypher does return from main right now, trying to get back onto the point. Overtime is already ticking down, though, so they are forced to fight on the point. Cypher not going to last long there against the Winston. Fuse is back as Soldier. He was not running the Roadhog this time around. He actually fell to Cruz the first time. And there is a Dragon Blade out from Cruz. That should be enough to cause a draw here, of all things. We've got a draw on Numbani to kick off this BO3.
I don't understand whatsoever there. The original time they attacked point A, they had an interesting composition where they were running with the Reinhardt and Roadhog, and then they tried to pair up their Mercy and Soldier 76. Like, it got destroyed, but that was eUnited really working through it and acquired the ultimate through the end. But this composition is really strange. They've got a solo support Lucio paired up with a Winston D.Va and a dive comp. So they've kind of got a dive comp with Winston D.Va, but then their only heals are the Lucio, and they have a Pharah and a Soldier 76 rather than a Tracer. So this doesn't make sense on multiple levels to me. They have two heroes that their main job is to do damage, and Cooler on Pharah is just over on his own, where he's just hanging around in the air, like an easy pick-off for anybody that goes in. Instantly focused down by Valitaja and Unfixed, I think it was. And the Winston D.Va pair don't have anybody to back them up because Cypher was a really late death as well. It just crumbled completely. And although you said their fate was in their hands, they've allowed a draw to happen. Maybe a draw was the best thing that they could hope for in Numbani, though.
No, they could have killed him. They could have won. They blew it.
They certainly could have done. I mean, from the beginning, though, they would have been happy with a draw, given how badly it started. But when it gets to the end there, and they come out with that composition, and they have a minute and 8 seconds to try and do something, and instead of going with, I just don't know what they were thinking with that composition. I can't even work out from a conceptual, theoretical point of view what they were hoping for.
Yeah, I think it didn't work out. They didn't find that first pick, and that's essentially what you have to do. There's no ults available, right? So your Genji or your Soldier or your Pharah, all three of them ended up meeting their fates, different ways. Cruz destroyed Fuse the first time that they came through. The Genji just dove right on him, and I believe deflected a bunch of damage back and just killed him in 2 seconds. But we are headed to a BO3. BO3 Oasis as the tiebreaker here, and the tiebreak rules keep changing, but I'm okay with a BO3 control to settle a different map. Numbani, of course, ended in that draw. You can't have a draw in a BO3. It just makes things messy. So Oasis is going to be our decider for that first game. It looks like both teams are ready, so we'll fire into the map. But how do you reckon this BO3 tiebreak might go?
Welcome to
Oasis seemed like a decent map for eUnited, but we definitely saw potential for them to get overrun on the university stage in particular. And on the other two stages, they were putting a lot of stock in how Unfixed was playing on Pharah. And if you've got a good Pharah on the other side, like Cooler's a decent Pharah, so if they try and run the Pharah v Pharah, we could see EX-ROX come out on top of this one. But in general, I think, other than the university stage, I would favor eUnited.
Unfixed did have a pretty monstrous game, if I recall, on that Pharah, so I think you're right on that. He's not going to be playing any Genji here. Just kind of looking at all the compositions here. Cypher starting on the McCree. Curious if he's going to stick with that. I would love to watch him hit some headshots here, but we'll see if that is going to be the case. 10 seconds until we get the doors open here. Again, EX-ROX, everything to play for, so they will be trying their darndest. Looks like I do need to switch us on the scoreboard as well, so you go ahead and take us through this first fight.
Well, the composition for eUnited here, going to work with that Pharah Mercy combo. We'll see if they can get position, and Cruz isn't going to back them up with Genji. He's actually running D.Va. And there's a D.Va on the other side coming out from Cooler as well. Alexi is running the Reinhardt, so they've got more shield potential, but that concussion blast over from Unfixed is going to knock them all over the place, and that's really going to open the fight up there for eUnited.
Yeah, looks like Unfixed is going to find the first kill as well. Cypher has just been firing away at that enemy Mercy or whoever he actually has available to shoot at, but he has not been finding his mark, really. Unfixed and Rubicon actually just staying pretty safe up there in the skies, pouring a lot of damage in, and it looks like it will give eUnited that first point. eventually. Cypher does go down, as does Morte, but yeah, this Sky duo actually so threatening here. Fuse, very scary to run out through the door like that when one concussive shot can just knock you off the bridge completely. Point still has not been claimed though. Both teams still with some bodies battling it out. You've got Reinhardt down there on the low ground, hits the Earth Shatter right in the face of Winston just to try and get that percentage to start ticking up. That was maybe an overcommitment there.
Unfix is doing a huge amount of damage, but the rest of his team are actually losing the fight on the low ground. Rubicon uses his Resurrect, and this should get the initial fight. Bear in mind that nobody's capped this this point yet on the Garden stage. Unfix is still doing a huge amount of damage, finishing off his own kills now. But because Valutaja and to a lesser extent Cruz were taking a lot of damage on the ground, Unfixed's damage was a little bit useless. Although he's piling into them, there's really large HP pools on Fuse, Alexi, and Cooler, so any damage you do to them is just, it's filling your own ultimate charge, sure, but that's Barrage, which isn't as useful, and if you're not getting the kills, it's not really helping your team, so he needs Valutaja to be able to finish those off.
Valutaja, when he did return from spawn, he actually did quite a lot of cleanup. So now, hopefully, he's got his bearings. We've got Diva Suit flying out whole hog in the face of Valutaja, but the rewind actually keeps him nice and safe. The Diva Suit did kill the enemy Diva, so Cruz, nice little pickup there, actually gets his suit back, so a nice swing. However, Morte is down. There's a beat drop now for EX-ROX. Can they actually capitalize on it? They're looking for kills, but doesn't seem like they're going to find any. Fuse and Rubicon dying at the same time means this is still anyone's fight. Pulse Bomb goes out for Valutaja, finds Alexi, and that should tip it to eUnited's side. Unfixed finding a kill there as well.
And Unfixed has not been dealt with this entire time, despite the fact they're running the McCree. He's still got Barrage available, hits a rocket straight in the face of Main as well. And Cooler's got other jobs than to just sit there eating the rockets constantly. So they need a plan to deal with this Fire Mercy combo. They don't have a Genji, which can be very effective at dealing with it, because you can get super high up. There's a lot of ways to play around the architecture in this particular beautiful stage of Oasis Gardens. And they don't have a Fire of their own, so it's a lot of pressure on Cypher.
I'm just watching Cooler from afar try and bunny blast his way back up to a new suit. Finally, he gets it, so they can get this fight underway. But Aang fell to about half health right away. I'm going to watch Alex here as he does have the Earth Shatter ready to go. The first time he used it on a single Winston, so I'm curious what's going to happen this time. Fuse finds the kill on Morte. Cooler loses the suit. Diva Explosion. Cruz finds 2 more. He's found 3 already this game. Really good stuff there. For the res from Rubicon, bringing everyone right back in. Barrage follow-up means that eUnited will stay on top, and that is a 100-0 cap in the end for eUnited on Gardens. Rough game there from EX-ROX. It looked like they could have butt their heads in a couple times, but just could not get it together.
Yeah, it's utterly dominant. Cypher's playing the McCree, but he has to play inside. He can't really take a position up top because he doesn't have the survivability, and nobody's playing within his flashbang range, so it's not like he can add that kind of utility to the composition. Soldier 76 probably would have been better if he's trying to play just an anti-Fire Mercy strategy there, because he can take the high ground. But every time went up along with Cooler on Diva, they just took a concussion blast and were knocked straight back off. So it wasn't like they could even get superior positioning. Unfix was outplaying them in terms of damage, but also those concussion blasts were pivotal to stop EX-ROX getting a superior position over the rest of his team on the floor.
That's just one great reason to run Pharah, deny that high ground potential over and over. And I'm hitting a couple of lag spikes here just in game, so hopefully I don't drop out or anything like that. But as we begin, both teams actually stepping foot onto the point. I like University for that reason. It seemed for a while people were taking the high ground, but now it's turned back into the sumo wrestling tank match. Alex is going to get gunned down, not all the way, thankfully for EX-ROX. But they will have to give up their positioning. Cypher is going to die in the background, but not until after taking out Unfixed. 2 tanks down for eUnited. EX-ROX have a great chance here.
And this is where I think EX-ROX, this particular stage, that is, this is where I think EX-ROX have the advantage over eUnited. They seem to be playing better with the tanks. They both seem to have better individual talent on some of their tanks. For example, Cruz seems to be a little bit shaky whenever he's moving over to Zarya. And they've looked great. Fuse, it's his pocket pick to stick on Roadhog anyway, so this composition really works to EX-ROX's advantage. And so far, they're up 20%.
Cooler launching out the Zarya bombs over and over. Already at 60%. Damage is adding up, splash damage, but that is a Valutaja tactical visor from the high ground. Finds Cypher right away. Someone got pinned off the side. Sherik took Cooler for a ride, and they both went off the stage there. 36% for EX-ROX and climbing. Valutaja, though, finding the kills uncontested until he gets put to sleep there. eUnited have basically flooded the board now, though. They just need to take out those last stragglers, and they will flip the point. 45% now for EX-ROX. Much better showing than they had on Gardens, but they will need to try and take it back now with no ults really available. Cooler and Alex will be there soon. Fuse. Whole Hog Graviton could be what they're saving up for here, but eUnited could just jump the gun, hit those ults first, and take another fight.
They've got huge potential. Graviton's going to come in. Lots of shield damage here, and Unfix gets hooked, so he can't do the follow-up. That biotic grenade is huge, though, as Valutaja and Sharek clean up the tanks from the other team with the help of Rubicon, who just launches his nade in there and does a huge amount of damage. I thought they were maybe going to survive that, but the nade comes through.
Yeah, that nade was monstrous, and Cruz was right there with still 60 energy. He had to have 80 at the time. He's up to 100 now. So Cruz really showing off some skills on the Zarya, which I was not expecting. He's been playing DPS characters for so long in this tournament that his Zarya play is quite impressive. Cooler on the other side does have the Graviton Surge. He launches it, and he's going to find 3 in there. Can they get the kills? Cypher Pulse Bomb follow-up for the Big Bang combo is enough to essentially win the point. Cypher gets another follow-up kill there onto Cruz, and the Roadhog player Fuse is actually getting chased down by Morte, but Morte, of course, falls in the end, and EX-ROX should be able to grab it back. Nice use of the ultimates. Still have a couple to work with, and the other side, eUnited, they've got a full arsenal to try and retake with.
Really even between these two teams so far, but as you say, eUnited have got the ultimates to be able to swing this in their favor. They don't have the nano boost, but they do have the tactical visor, and they have both of their CC ultimates up. And Cruz is probably going to be the one to engage. If you see him going aggressive, that's the sign the Graviton's going to come out. But EX-ROX have that nano boost along with Alexi's ultimate, so if they can hit off an initiation Earth Shatter, that could also be huge.
Nice kill there onto Cypher. Gives them a nice window of opportunity. 76%. Should be up to around 80 or 90 by the time this fight is determined. The Graviton Surge comes out, catches 2 tanks, and Cruz is right there to eat up some energy. Gets both kills on the targets inside the Graviton. Earthshatter comes out, and Cruz does go down. I'm not sure how many people Alex hit with it. Nice pin onto Sharek. Actually gives another little opening here, but the sound barrier now for eUnited catches 4 members. Will that be enough to carry them to the point flip? I think it's a possibility. Valutaja still has a tactical visor. He could commit if things get hairy, but 99% for EX-ROX. I think eUnited feel confident. Oh, they just lost. Unfixed getting hooked out of the point, so this is actually scary territory now. eUnited gonna have to regroup.
And they're going to have to burn these ultimates just to take the point back. If they had managed to flip it, we could be seeing them use these ultimates to stagger it out and get to overtime themselves. But they're going to have to use these ults just to stop the overtime happening from EX-ROX. And all this time, the longer it takes, the more ults are coming up on the side of EX-ROX as well. Alexi hits another meaty Earth Shatter. His former one took down both of their tanks and almost won it for them. This one, the overtime ticks down, and there's so few players left on the point. Only Cruz steps up for a second, and that's going to be it. EX-ROX with the win on University. Great play from them.
That was a bloodbath at the very end, man. All the ults flying out. Everything eventually tipping toward EX-ROX's favor, but man, there were so many little interactions there. I was actually on Cruz's POV because he caught the nano boost for eUnited. He was decently high Zarya energy. He immediately gets Earth Shattered, then immediately gets hooked, can't do any damage, has to run away, and EX-ROX really just pummeled them there and got the round victory. So this is just a BO3 tiebreaker. This is anybody's map. This will actually determine who won Numbani, don't forget. So this is like 20, 25 minutes into this first game here, and it's still anyone's match. This is do or die time, and it's Cooler Soldier against Unfixed Sphera. This could be a battle for the ages.
Definitely could. It's going to be EX-ROX trying to get control of the high ground then and put Cooler up there, but the semi-dive composition from eUnited takes control really early with Sharek and Cruz. Morte and Unfixed up there as well, and Unfixed is having his way with them at the moment. He's hiding behind this jump pad, making sure that he's not going to get picked off. They've recognized the fact that Cooler's playing in the background, and Cooler has a lot of pressure here. He has to deliver.
Wow, Main actually fell extremely low, but happened to grab a health pack in time to save his own Ana life. Main is being focused by Unfixed, so he's just gunning for him now. Anytime there's a soldier and Ana in view, you can see Unfixed turn his gaze toward them. But as the kills start to come out, Main is going to be the first one down. Cruz loses his suit, but that's not too big of an issue. Sharek getting hooked and destroyed is a bit of an issue here. Valutaja running around the side, has Pulse Bomb generated already, takes out Fuse with the help of Mercy. Pulse Bomb sticks onto Cooler, and eUnited off to a hot start now.
Oh, they certainly turned that one around. Unfix really hasn't been dealt with so far, but he hasn't done a huge amount of damage like he did on Gardens. Whoa! Rubicon taken out there by Main as well, who just got the respawn and made sure that the Resurrect was not in the fight, and nobody's quite taken this fight yet. The spawners are still coming in here from EX-ROX, trying to delay it, but this looks like an inevitable fight that they're going to lose as their spawners trickle into their death. And a lot of ultimates up from, or going to be up very shortly from both teams.
Interesting thing to note, of course, is that Rubicon does have his Resurrection available, so if he can just stay airborne with Unfixed and stay hidden behind these line of sight blockers on the high ground, I honestly think don't need to be there. I think the line of sight blockers on high ground need to be removed from this map because it just provides so much cover. Not only do they have a great high ground advantage with open view of the point, but they can just hide from you on the low ground too, so it makes it incredibly strong. Cooler is actually going to get taken out while jumping and tack visoring. He takes out Mercy in the process, so no res is coming out, but Unfixed hits several with the barrage before going down. This fight could go either way. EX-ROX does fall very low on health though, so I feel that eUnited are going to come out on top in the end. Cruz gathering up the last couple of kills there will keep eUnited in control. 50% now for them.
It's difficult, as you were saying, it's a difficult stage to retake control of because you have that height advantage, you've got the column to play around, it's a very large control point in general, and they've got both of their support ultimates up as well. Large amount of survivability here for eUnited. It's going to be difficult for EX-ROX to come back in, and this is the final stage.
Unfixed launching those rockets out, long range, still focusing Ana and Soldier whenever he happens to see them, but for the most part, if there's a nice squishy Roadhog to shoot at, he's happy to switch targets. Cypher on the low ground here, trying to take the fight to them. Stickies onto Winston. Can they capitalize with a kill? It looks like Sound Barrier is going to negate it. Sound Barrier on both sides actually coming out now, so this is anyone's fight. Waiting to see if any more ults come flying out. There is Cruz's Diva suit. Will he get any explosion kills? No, but it does cause enough of a panic to cause people to scatter, and some kills are starting to happen now. Rez coming in for the side of eUnited brings everyone back into play, though, and that should tip the scales enough for them to collect these final kills. Valutaja, great focus there as Tracer to take everyone out. He got a piece of like 6 limbs there in that last fight, and overtime will tick down, giving eUnited the first map victory.
Crazy close between these two teams. If that's what we're going to see across the whole of the best of 3, or now it's going to be a best of 4, I guess, given that we just played an extra map to decide the first. But this is much better play in general from EX-ROX than we were expecting, but Oasis is the kind of map that does favor them more than most in the map pool, so it's kind of unfortunate that they weren't able to take that after such a good play on University. They weren't really engaging quick enough, I think, was one of the big problems for them on City Center, is that they're trying to play with Cooler on Soldier 76 and a Diva and a Roadhog. They're all kind of reactive or backline heroes, apart from the Diva, but they're not playing the Diva aggressively. So I would have preferred to see them play a bit more of a dive composition and try and really get into the players on the floor and force Unfixed and Rubicon to come down to them a little bit more. But in general, well played by eUnited.
Yeah, I guess there's essentially 2 things they could have done. They could have tried to match them for aerial superiority too, and they chose not to. They went with Cooler Soldier instead and got 100 zeroed. So it's like, you know, maybe next time try to mix it up a little bit. I know that another cast that we did, EX-ROX against Laser Kittens, the one round on Oasis that the EX-ROX did admirably on was when Cooler was playing Pharah and not Soldier. So it's kind of interesting. They kind of went back to their original compositions, and they couldn't win the ground war or the sky battle on that one. And the res, actually, at the very last second from Rubicon totally brought that fight back for them. I think he picked up at least 3 there, and it was enough Valutaja actually just to finish off all the low health targets on the other side. So great ult usage across the board. eUnited will give themselves that first map win, and EX-ROX on the ropes. This is tournament life at stake here. If they lose one more map, they will be eliminated from the event altogether, and Laser Kittens will move on to the playoffs instead. So this is getting quite tense for basically everybody involved. eUnited happy to just be here and keep fragging.
So if you're EX-ROX here, you've got the advantage of loser's pick. You know, you lost the first map, which was Numbani. That's a random map. And then you've got another 4 to pick from: Hanamura, Nepal, Hollywood, or Volskaya. So what do you go for? Nepal's got some points that are good for triple tank, like Village and Sanctum. Volskaya, they've got a lot of they're going to have a lot of troubles if they go to Volskaya, I think, because the dive composition works so well. Hollywood's kind of similar. Maybe Hanamura is what they go for.
They've already picked Nepal.
Okay.
Eng throws it out there. Assault maps, again, still have that stigma of people don't really practice them as often.
Yeah.
And actually, someone made a valid point in the Overwatch Pro Talk Discord. They said that being good at control maps is actually the best thing that you can do in the game right now, just because there are so many control maps to play, and tiebreakers are very often on control maps. So Nepal, we just saw eUnited take it 2-1. I mean, obviously it was, 100-0 in that final point, but I think EX-ROX should be at least well familiar with the map. There should be heavily practiced, no surprises on Nepal. So we'll see what compositions, if any differences come out, what they're going to be. They might even untrap the Junkrat. Untrap the rat is the new thing people I've seen say that. And if they haven't, they should start. Trademark Joshi 2017. But we've got basically just regular stuff piling out now for Nepal Village going to be the first point. We'll go ahead and switch into game, make sure our overlays are all good. EX-ROX on the red team, eUnited on the blue team. eUnited do have a 1 map advantage, though, so we'll go ahead and give them that 1 point on the board. This is just a BO3 again, so, Nepal is a BO5, normal competitive rules. The series is a BO3, so the fact that they have a 1 map advantage means Nepal could be our last map here of the day.
For EX-ROX, there's got to be a reason that they've chosen to go here, and I think Village and Sanctum are good for this triple tank or more tanky compositions that they have. They're going to want to, this first stage is Village, they're going to want to spend most of their time fighting inside the point, I think, with their tanks. They've currently got a quad tank lineup. I'm not a fan of that. I really think Cooler should be playing, or possibly they should switch Cooler onto the Zarya and have Cypher play the Genji or something like that, but I feel like you really would want a single DPS player. This quad tank, although you've got a lot of health, you're lacking a lot of damage.
Well, Unfix going to take the high ground immediately here with his supports, so they're staying together as a unit, but it's going to be the tanks on EX-ROX actually marching around to the back side of the point, forcing that high ground advantage to come down to their level as the point unlocks. I'm sure they'll just walk on with the Reinhardt barrier up, and that is going to be what happens. Cooler has a great opportunity to attack Unfix, actually even gets the Winston landing damage there from the leap, so Unfix is going to be chased away. EX-ROX have a bit of an opportunity, but Aang is going to get focused down by Valuetaja, and it's going to be Unfix finding another kill there. United really putting their foot down here. 3 kills going their way, and no one left to heal the remaining tanks, so that's going to be United grabbing up the point first.
The problem with this composition is that although you've got a huge amount of HP and stalling power and all of those good things and really good ultimates, you're completely relying on Fuse hitting hooks. And if he doesn't hit a hook and if he's not getting consecutive picks, who else is doing the damage here? Like, they're all going to do a reasonable amount of damage, but if you compare it to the triple DPS lineup, they can just sit back and pepper you and you're slowly going to lose your HP and you're slowly going to lose control of the point.
I think that's valid for the first fight when there's no ultimates involved, but as the fight continues on, once they start getting those ults, it just becomes more and more sustainable. I think the problem with that first encounter mostly was just the fact that they couldn't protect Aang. They need to have their healers, obviously, as these tanks, because their damage output is so much lower. Cruz is just going to find everything on the point, and Valuetaja is going to find everyone running away from it. So nice sort of a flush-out maneuver there by eUnited to get everyone scrambling, and they picked up all the pieces. So eUnited extending their lead now up to about 50% to 0.
Starting to get ultimates on the board here, though, for EX-ROX. They've got the Nano Boost, 94% on the Earth Shatter as well. Primal Rage, Graviton, Whole Hog, starting to take up. A lot of these ultimates have great synergy with each other, so that's going to be where they need to start finding success.
Already losing the Ana again. They have to do a better job protecting their healers, or they're just going to slowly get shredded by these flanking DPS. Valuetaja and Cruz are too good to not have a healer as a Reinhardt or a Roadhog that's just super immobile. Graviton Surge is going to come out here for EX-ROX. These are the ults that we were talking about. Earthshatter not going to be committed because it is not necessary. EX-ROX finally flipping the point to their side. Valuetaja is in a position where he could run away or keep fighting. Looks like... Where did he actually end up? He's still fighting, trying to take out this Ana.
Zipping around, gonna go back. Pairs up with Unfix to be able to take down Cooler and Cypher during that fight. And they can keep applying pressure and keep EX-ROX fighting within this point. And now that the ultimate's... Oh, there's an ultimate! Huge Earth Shatter coming out from Alexi. He gets debuffed, but the Nano Boost on him as well is going to keep him super resistant to all of that damage coming in and doing a huge amount of damage himself.
We've got the unfixed Tactical Visor out now, just lighting into those tanks. Does not get the kill on Cypher. Cypher falls incredibly low, but ends up coming out on top there, so EX-ROX do grab it back. The Earth Shatter that you pointed out, the double Fire Strike kill is always really fun as a Reinhardt player. It's very satisfying to follow up an Earth Shatter with that instant kill. So great stuff there from Alexi. Allows them to grab it back. 72% for eUnited is quite a lot. They are potentially in a spot where they could win one fight and just ride it out to victory. So these ultimates I am expecting to see fly in every direction. Cruise, Dragon Blade at the ready. The interesting thing, though, with the quad tanks is they are just going to stay as a unit here in the back line, so attacking into them can be quite difficult unless you force them onto the point.
His Dragon Blade's going to have a feast on these guys, though. The Nano Blade comes in, see if he gets stalled out by anything, a sleeve or a hook. Oh, that's so pivotal that the hook lands there from Fuse, and he has to back off for some heals and gets chased down by Cooler. They needed some kind of some kind of CC ability
Zarya
to come
bubble,
in there.
something, but they don't have it. Unfortunately, there's very, very few anti-CC abilities in this game. Barriers are the only thing that block a majority of these attacks, and Orisa coming into play soon in competitive is going to be quite interesting with that as well, if people get better at her to see if she will be involved in the future. But right now, barriers are king, and if there's no Zarya on your team, you're going to die to ultimates. That's just going to happen. Graviton Surge, excuse me, totally wrong ultimate. Sound Barrier comes out just for Aang to try and delay. That is a risky proposition there. It's 93% for eUnited. Who is going to be able to get in there? Lucio's, of course, going to be the last one back to the point. Nano boosted Alex has Earth Shatter ready, hits the button, but there's no one on the point. First village going to eUnited.
He just charges past the point, and because he doesn't end his charge early and he gets a Nano Boost and he wants to set himself up for the Earth Shatter, nobody else is able to get on the point. That's unfortunate, but it's what happens when you play with the quad tank, you know? You're definitely favored when there's ultimates up, but there are always going to be times in any control match when you don't have ultimates on the board because you have to expend 2, sometimes even 3 to wipe the enemy team off and flip it over. So in those kind of fights where you don't have the ultimates up, you also aren't generating them very quickly because you're not doing damage compared to the triple DPS composition. They're going to have their ultimates online way more often, and they suffered for it there, unfortunately. This stage, though, should be even better for them.
This is going to be a very scary proposition here for EX-ROX. They're actually switching Cooler onto the Pharah. Has he actually gone on him in today's series? I can't recall. I don't think I've seen it yet.
Perhaps not,
Cooler
no,
Pharah?
but he certainly has before.
Yes, and in other series he's been quite good with it, so I hope that he's going to be able to show up with it here against Unfixed's Soldier, so they've kind of swapped sides in that regard. Unfixed was the Pharah earlier against Cooler's Soldier, so we'll see perhaps it play out a little bit differently here. Cooler's already in a strange position. Valutaja trying to gun him down. Fuse now taking the brunt of these Tracer pistols. Morte falling extremely low, does manage to save his own life with some fancy wall riding skills. Alex is going to take the first death of the round instead. Pulse Bomb, oh my goodness. I didn't see it.
Both of the supports caught in that one,
yeah. And
everybody goes down from EX-ROX. That's going to be the first point over, and they've generated a ton of ultimates. Look at Cruise and already on 80%. And the only person from EX-ROX close to there is his main, who's going to have the Nano Booster for the next fight. But they're going to be hard to put anybody in it's going to be hard to put anybody in a position where they can really use it, unless they just put it on Cooler and hope he does damage with the rockets.
Of course, as soon as I switch off of Valutaja, he lands that awesome Pulse Bomb and follow-up kill onto the Roadhog. It just happens sometimes. I've generally been pretty lucky with the crazy stuff happening in these games. Fuse gets a nice hook combo onto Morte to open things up, but Fuse is going to fall incredibly quick during his take a breather. We've got a Nano Boost onto Cooler's Soldier, who's already off of the Pharah, mind you. Cruz is going to start slicing and dicing with the Dragon Blade. Falls very low health, but manages to get picked back up. 36% for eUnited and climbing. What was that? Reinhardt takes a dive, but he only had one teammate dead, so he may have just missed a pin. I think he was trying to hit somebody with it, not just going for the reset just yet. However, it is going to be eUnited in the end, hanging on 50% there and climbing. If they can ward off this next attack with their 4 ultimates, which they should be able to do, that's 70-80% territory. So they just need to play totally standard here and make sure they don't overcommit anything.
Gonna have the sound barrier and possibly a Graviton halfway through this fight from Cypher. So But for the moment, they're just playing in this back room. They've actually dropped down into onto the point. Alexi charges forward, but doesn't quite catch Sharek, and he's sentence from them. They've got the sound barrier on the side of EX-ROX, and Cypher's getting closer and closer to the Graviton, but it won't be coming in just yet.
Nice knockoff. Sharek, Primal Rage destroys Alex by knocking him into the void, then just slaps Anna to death. I love Winston, always zapping and slapping as his primary attacks. Fuse goes down there to Valutaja and Unfixed, and they have plenty of room to push out toward the spawn. There's no one left inside the Sanctum. Backcap not really a threat as long as they can keep eyes on this shuttle exit. Cooler is going to go down there. Some nice place shots there from Unfixed and Valutaja. And that's round 2 in the bag now. United, just a single control map stage away from shutting the door on EX-ROX. Laser Kittens keeping their fingers crossed here, but EX-ROX have a very tall mountain to climb now if they want to push into the playoffs.
They certainly do, and something that eUnited have been so good at so far under Nepal is winning the first fight, and that snowballs them forwards in terms of ultimates generated. It means that EX-ROX are playing a real big disadvantage because they have to initiate and get onto the point. They have to engage without ultimates because they haven't charged them effectively, and they don't have a composition that works well in that situation. They're actually going to switch it up this time and put Cypher over on the Genji with a triple tank Genji composition, except Cooler is on the Winston and they don't have a Zarya. So we'll see how that works against them.
All right, Cooler's Winston. We've been critical of it in the past. They're putting everything on the line here and keeping him on it against the enemy Genji Cruise. So I'm going to watch Cooler just to start things off. No pressure, buddy. Just the tournament life on the line. Discord Orb already onto Cooler from Rubicon Zenyatta. Let's see, as this fight starts to break out on the ledge side, it's going to be Genji actually diving right in there. Cypher finds 2 kills in the backline with the help of his tanks. Good stuff there. 3 deaths already on eUnited means EX-ROX are firmly in it to win it.
This is working well. You know, Cooler's Winston, I don't think he plays the hero badly. It's just sometimes whoever decides the compositions for this team puts them in at questionable times. This composition is looking fairly good though, because they got the Genji to draw attention away from Unfixed and Cruise and go for the dive potential. So the synergy there between Cooler and Cypher, and also Cooler works well against Cruise. And Sharek can't have the same efficacy against Cypher because he's their primary tank and only tank, so he has different jobs to fulfill.
Valutaja pushing forward now in the back line, taking some free shots at the Reinhardt's backside, but unable to really pour in a lot of damage. Healers at the ready. No ults to work with just yet, but I do expect them to start flying any moment. Pulse bomb from Valutaja right there are stickies onto the Roadhog, taking a breather, and Cooler goes down in the Mayhem. Main, the Anna, trying to be focused down here. Cruz is going to dive right onto her. Nano Boost comes out because Anna knows that he's about to die there. Cypher and Main both get sliced up by Cruz, though, and even with that Nano Boost, Alex can't last too much longer. There is United with the flip. 50% for EX-ROX. Best showing they've had yet, actually, on these Nepal stages. Oasis, they had a round win, but Nepal has been pretty tough for them so far. They get 50% on the board, 10% now in Rising for United with a couple of ultimates to work with. That Tac Visor will be available. Alex's Earth Shatter and Cypher's Dragon Blade are going to have to really come through in the clutch.
I like this composition. There was a bit of a panic ultimate coming out from main, but they're going to be able to storm forwards with that speed boost and take control of the shrine for now. Here comes the Transcendence coming out from Rubicon. At the same time as the Dragon Blade is used from Cypher and Engpops' sound barrier. Lots of ultimates being invested by both sides. And again, it's going to be EX-ROX coming out with a slightly better end of this one. Still ultimates waiting to be used, but they're not going to pop them, wisely saving them for the next fight.
That was the least shield usage I've seen from Alex in a full fight. He literally walked back and forth across the point, swinging the hammer the entire time, and actually got quite a lot of damage in with it. So 60% now for EX-ROX feels good. They didn't, again, have to commit a whole lot. Cypher did get the Dragon Blade value he was looking for, I suppose, even if it didn't, kill the entire enemy team. They win the point. Earthshatter right in the face of Morte, takes out that Lucio immediately, but Alex falls in the process. Cooler here with Primal Rage should be able to give EX-ROX the best chance at hanging on to the point, and everyone who dives in, Sharek, Unfixed, also just getting eliminated there. So eUnited have time to regroup one time. Actually, it's going to be very stressful for them. It's almost trickle territory. They do have some fast characters. They should be able to use these ults and potentially win the fight. I really don't see anything too scary on the other side ultimate-wise to stop them, but some good play certainly could keep EX-ROX in play here.
They've got the nano boost and they popped it onto Cooler, seeing what they can do with that. Sharek's primal rage on the other side, and Fuse has been focused down in the back, so that's really pivotal for eUnited there. They found the pick that they needed to. The nano boost hasn't come to much fruition. It looks like they're going to be able to flip the point. Cooler with his primal rage going to delay them for a little while, make sure that it's not ticking up the whole of the time that this team are waiting to spawn, and then they can re-engage with the Dragon Blade perhaps.
That was a pretty brutal slapping death that Main suffered as Ana over in the corner. Sherrick just brutalized him while the rest of his team took down the tanks. And obviously without an Ana in play, it can be much easier to just take things down. Valuetaja had a field day without that healer in play. Pulse Bomb ready to go again. Unfixed and Cruz both have their offensive ultimates, and Morte has a sound barrier to work with. EX-ROX really needs some miracles to happen here. Pulse Bomb comes flying out, does not get the sticky. Aang is going to fall super low though. Can he get to the health pack in time? No, they're actually going to go off the edge. Main, Cooler, and Aang are all down. They're going to try to regroup and take one final fight here.
I don't mind that at all though, because they force out the sound barrier and the Dragon Blade and they reset instantly, because if they'd taken any longer at all, they really wouldn't have the opportunity to come back in for this fight. But they're just going to get on in the late 90s here, I think, for this shrine point of Nepal. And they have their own sound barrier and Dragon Rage, and Dragon Rage, what am I talking about? Dragon Blade.
No idea. And what are you talking about? No, here we
I think that's a Pokemon move, actually.
Well, Nano Visor is going to be committed immediately. Unfixed trying to gun someone down, but there's no one there. The line of sight actually favors EX-ROX, and they get 2 kills to start the fight. Unfixed, unable to do anything from the high ground soldier. So EX-ROX, the regroup was the right decision. They have the body count that they need on the point. Alex finds the kill on Unfixed, and suddenly it's just a sleeping Winston to contend with. He's going to leap into the air as you do, but can't last too much longer. Overtime will start to flip it over to EX-ROX and drain down super quick. Tracer can't even get there in time. Morte was nearby, but got taken out by Cypher. So EX-ROX, they had a tall mountain to climb, and they've just taken their first steps.
And I actually really like the adaptations that they've made so far. Triple tank with a Winston Genji is a really good counter that I actually haven't seen or even thought about that much against the triple dive composition, particularly on control. Because you've got the stable area with Alexi's shield to hide behind, but you also have a huge amount of disruption power with Cooler and Cypher, so that whenever the enemy team engages into you, you can push your own engage back in and stop their supports from being able to capitalize on the space that's already been bought. And the fact that you have those the two primary tanks plus your Roadhog to try and deal with Sharek, I think it's a nice composition that they've landed on that's working fairly well against them so far.
We'll see now. Kind of I guess every opportunity is the last ditch opportunity for EX-ROX at this point, since their tournament life is on the line with every single round. No Mei to screw things up. That was the previous match. Zappis was running the Mei to great effect here on Village, so no trickery. Just the same old dive compositions that we've seen. Unfixed actually on the Pharah this time rather than Soldier. That's an important distinction, and he is actually landing a few rockets here to soften up the enemy team. Main is going to be the first one down. Cypher falls as well, and eUnited with a 6-4 advantage, actually 5-4 advantage now, should still be able to clutch it out, I think.
A really good focus fire from Unfixed and Valuetaja. Unfixed did a load of damage over onto Main, and Valuetaja picked the kill up. Now they're playing over on the point, just killing players one by one from EX-ROX, and winning this early fight, which is so pivotal on control. It gives you the ultimate advantage, starts ticking that timer up, gives you the positional advantage as well. It's a snowball.
Snowball on a snowy map. Again, no Mei in play. That is actually the name of her robot, if you didn't know that. Mei's robot is named Snowball. But Unfixed is here with the barrage. Fuse has his Whole Hog available on the attacking team, trying to reclaim the point here. Whole Hog obviously incredibly potent if they can get the targets lined up correctly. However, Unfixed, Cruz, and Valuetaja, they're not the type of heroes to clump up, so could be less effective in that regard. 5v5. Quickly, Alex gets the kill onto Rubicon, though, so removing that Ana from the fight, definitely going to help things out. Whole Hog gets committed for basically nothing. Fuse, I'm not sure what's going on there. Valuetaja, still around the point, but unable to battle by himself, so he's just going to try and stay hidden for the time being. And EX-ROX do flip it back, 20% now for them.
User's got a bit of a one-man army mentality there. He was trying to push Unfixed out of the fight, but he was a little bit close to just isolating himself and being picked off. And Valuetaja's still been hanging around this whole time up top, waiting for a good opportunity to find a softened up target and dish out the kills.
He could also use it to engage, just drop it right onto Reinhardt's head or something like that, but he's going to go ahead and drop in Soundbear for EX-ROX, the defending team. Main falls extremely low, but it actually does survive. Cruz is going to get a Nano Blade, though. He's, of course, going to focus Main as quickly as he can. The Earthshatter sends Cruz's body flying. Alex has a chance now to continue to sweep up. That Earthshatter was quite pivotal to shut down that offensive push, so EX-ROX will hang on. Again, Fuse, the one-man Armageddon, one-man Apocalypse, I think, as Roadhog likes to say, pushing out forward, but of course does back off once they realize the fight is won. 63%, and EX-ROX still, inch by inch, trying to claw their way back into the series.
It's working well for them so far. They shut down Cruz. That was absolutely pivotal that he lands the Earthshatter there. Cypher's gone down, though, and he had the Dragon Blade. Cooler's going to have to Primal Rage to try and delay this as long as he can, but it's important that eUnited focus the rest of the players. The quicker they manage to get everybody else out of the fight, the more Cooler's just going to have to stall and stall and stall, waiting for those spawners to come back in.
Yeah, that's a lot of deaths early on, so they really should be trying to just die as quickly as possible. They've milked it to 90%. Once you're at around 88%, something like that, you're in one and done territory anyway. So 94%, really no different than 90%. Winston did Primal Rage there, so it's kind of interesting. I guess it did maybe get them a little bit extra, but now there's a lot of ultimates available on the eUnited side, and they're already in control of the point. So this barrage from Unfixed specifically could just ruin their next push. Soundbear is going to come out and only hits 2 people, Morte and Cruz. Cruz not going to launch the Dragon Blade. That's actually Cypher over on the other side. EX-ROX trying to find some targets. Cannot really do so as the fight has just devolved all over the place into little 1v1s, but Cypher does find a couple of eliminations there, and it should be EX-ROX flipping it. 95% up to 100. Valuetaja going to be the last chance here to try and contest. Actually, Sherrick gets into play as well. Overtime draining down now. Every death is super important. I'm not sure anyone else can get in.
Rubicon hit a sleep dart over onto Fuse, took the whole hog out of the situation. Now comes the Dragon Blade as well. They need to focus down Cruz. Look at the barrage as well. They had too many players to try and focus on. They knew that they had to try and get them down in the middle of both of their ultimates. This is the last chance saloon for Cypher. He needs to be able to get these kills before the rest of the players come in for eUnited. The overtime ticking down. Can anybody else get there? Not a chance. And although Cruz and Unfixed tried their hardest and had some decent ultimates to get them just a toe back into the fight, they draw it level at 2-2.
That last fight was nuts. Everything obviously added up for EX-ROX in the end, but the continual contesting actually made it much more interesting than I thought it should be. And I actually was...
the RNG, Joshy.
I was about to flip it
The
back.
RNG has brought them back to this stage. They could have gone to Sanctum, but and that was looking way better actually for eUnited. But they're back on Shrine, and I think this could be a super interesting final stage here.
Yeah, so EX-ROX won on Sanctum and Village, right? This was the one they kind of got stomped out on.
Yeah.
Okay, so eUnited have to be feeling good about their odds here. EX-ROX, of course, they've got momentum on their side. They are battling back here from an 0-2 deficit now to tie things up. So they know that it's do or die, down a map in the series. They have an opportunity to stretch it to a game 3. Now is their chance. Unfixed is going to get the first kill on Main. They just cannot defend their Ana. Main is the first one dead every time, and that's a credit to eUnited for having some excellent focus, but EX-ROX just can't defend her well enough, and she goes down every fight.
Unfixed, huge amount of damage really early on. As you said, the focus fire really perfect. Also target selection. They know that they have to get the Ana down. It's a real central figure. Although they're playing control and they're playing kind of deathball-y, so N can get out a lot of heals, Main is really the person keeping Fuse, Cooler, Alexi alive in all of these fights. So Ana out means a huge lack of support ability for the rest of EX-ROX.
Again, worth pointing out, Rubicon has gone with the Mercy this time. Obviously, Pharah Mercy is a great combination, but Rez is an enormous potential. We already saw that win one round in these control matches. So Valuetaja, Cruz, Unfixed. Again, they're just all over the place. You cannot really fight one without having the other two shoot you in the back. So everything looking good for eUnited as they get started 30% and climbing.
And the problem with the triple tank Genji composition is that it doesn't have any counter to the Pharah Mercy combo. Although it's really great when they're playing this Unfixed on the Soldier 76, and I think it works well in that situation, eUnited have made the necessary changes to their comp to run the counter to the counter. And now EX-ROX have changed over, so they've got the Tracer, Diva, and Soldier 76.
checking out Unfixed with the damage amp barrage potential. He just needs to kind of stay hidden until the perfect moment and avoid that diva as much as possible. He uses the conch shot to bounce himself into battle rather than going for 2 environmental kills. Totally different mindset than I would have in that position. They were right there on the edge, but they get both kills anyway, so I suppose it's fine. And Alex is, of course, going to take a dive off the side once half his team is dead. Not going to be able to do anything, just be wasting time. They would stagger him as baby diva. He knows what's going on. He's going to go ahead and hop off, rejoin his team and spawn. 75% for eUnited. EX-ROX, you're on the ropes. This is your last chance. Main, your nano boost has to be godlike. Aang, your sound barrier has to be godlike. Everyone else, you have to not die. Can they make all these things happen in their last push?
But eUnited have got the sound barrier and the resurrect up, so even if the fight goes badly for them, if Rubicon can just stay alive and hit the res, this is almost a one-time sure. Look at that, picking up Rubicon, great shot from Cooler, and Alexi getting in her face. Rubicon's gone down, that Mercy taken out of the fight, the resurrect not available for them, and they flip the point.
Interesting split-second difference of Cooler's ultimate going off or not just now. Cooler, you could see the animation of Soldier reaching up for his visor, but he died as he was doing it, so he keeps his ultimate. Could end up coming into play if he had launched it and then died. Obviously, it'd be a little bit different. Cooler is going to use the tag visor now. Only has tanks to shoot at. Unfortunately, the Winston bubble of all things is going to block him from getting 2 different kills. There were 2 low health targets that I'm sure he's furious about now. Cruz does go down. Cooler lives with 10 health. The fight is still raging on the point, but EX-ROX, importantly, are still in control. Aang, nice heroics on the Lucios, just pillar riding as long as he can, but Valuetaja a little bit too good on the Tracer. Unfixed, finds a rocket. Cooler is now taking heavy fire. He's going to go down, and it looks like eUnited have done it. Diva Suit's going to fly out. Don't expect anyone to die to that, as there's just so much LOS blockage here on the point. Main is going to get focused down once again. Nades himself to stay alive, but I can't see this lasting too much longer now. All the ults start to fly out, and Sherrick's Primal Rage actually doing a lot of work. 96%. It seems eUnited have shut down EX-ROX.
Wow, what a close series, though. Just a lot of the individual rounds were close. All 3 of the maps that they played were incredibly close. And EX-ROX can feel fairly happy about that, actually, I think. Once they shrug off the disappointment of not making playoffs there, which they definitely had the potential to do, they can feel reasonably good about themselves because they really brought it to a Tier 1 team in Europe.
And laser kittens around the world can be heard cheering as EX-ROX exit the group with that 1-4 series score rather than the 2-3 advancement. So Laser Kittens did what they came here to do. They made it through to the playoffs. EX-ROX falling short against eUnited. Pretty brutal couple of maps there, actually. Numbani was just incredible the way that EX-ROX battled back just to have it result in a draw and then an overtime loss in the Oasis tiebreaker. It's just heartbreaking for those guys battling the way that they did. So it's going to be, again, eUnited taking that series 2-0 in the end. Even though there was a draw on Numbani, they took the Oasis tiebreaker. So the way that our groups shake out, it's going to be Ninjas in Pajamas, eUnited, Vivi's Adventure, and Laser Kittens advancing to the playoffs from Group A. Thanks again to EX-ROX and Gamers Origin, both taking a series apiece, but both exiting here today from Group A. Group B will begin tomorrow. Sideshow, what do you think was your favorite series of the day today?
Oh, favorite series of the day? I think probably was this last one, because we saw a team that I didn't expect to do that well in this tournament, ex-Tornado ROX, who need to find a new team name, by the way. You can't keep using your organization's name if you left them, can you? And, you know, they had just got the pieces together. A lot of players had kind of left the team quite recently and gone over to a different, mostly Polish team called Auli 6. And Tornado ROX had just brought in Cooler and Cypher, and it felt like they were trying to patch the pieces together. But by the end of this tournament, they're actually looking fairly solid, and they were doing a decent job against the United, really making that one really close.
Yeah, I think this group had a lot of parity, so the fact that EX-ROX were able to make it interesting all the way down to the last game worked out well for our storylines, at least. Gamers Origin could have just moved through in the first BO3, and then we have a bunch of useless games, but at least it shook out to be very entertaining. EX-ROX definitely showed up to play and just fell short. Couple of mistakes here and there. Who knows if it could have gone differently, but I think the monumental individual skill of the players on eUnited definitely showed through those control maps. Just everyone staying alive to the bitter end, very smart decision making across the board. No giant screw ups anywhere that we could fathom. I think there was not like a single whiffed earth shatter or anything. So
No.
these guys are playing some incredible Overwatch, and someone has to lose in these groups. They're all pretty incredible teams, very evenly matched in the end. I think any given Monday, as it is today, could have shaken out a little bit differently. So congrats to those guys moving through. Condolences to those eliminated. But that is all the Overwatch we have for you guys today. So Sideshow, please tell the chat more about yourself, where they can find you until we see you again.
You can find my writing at over.gg, and you can find my tweets at Sideshow Gaming. And you can find me casting quite a number of the games of the rest of this tournament, because this was, of course, just the first group of our European portion, and there's still a North American whole tournament to go.
That's right. We've got 6 more teams in Europe, 12 teams in NA that we haven't even scratched the surface of, so plenty of excellent Overwatch. We've also got Jamerson, Storm, CT Hurix, and I believe LD himself will be joining us through the caster rotation over the next couple of weeks, so make sure you hit the follow button here on Overwatch Pit. Check them out on Twitter as well. Make sure you don't miss any of those games. I'm just Ask Joshy on Twitter and Twitch. I do stream Overwatch full-time for a living, so I appreciate every single follow that I get on Twitch or Twitter. Basically just tweet about Overwatch and esports all the time anyway, so if you're interested in that stuff, I appreciate any support you guys can show. I hope you guys enjoyed the casting. We're always open to feedback on Twitter or Twitch, so let us know what you thought of the cast. And that's Group A in the bag. That's all she wrote. So thanks so much to the few thousand folks that joined us today, and I hope to see you again tomorrow for EU Group B. Have a fantastic day or night until we see you again. Gonna close the stream with some music, but you guys are great. Thanks again to the sponsors and admins as well, and we will see you guys tomorrow.